Let me tell you a story about betrayal, firewalls, and why you should never trust a man who memorizes your coffee order before your last name. My name is Elena Marquez. If you've heard of me, it's either because of the scandal or the comeback, depending on which algorithm hates you less today. But before the headlines, before the hellfire, I was just a girl from Nogales, Arizona, who thought code could save the world. My mother, Rosa, worked the graveyard shift at a Walmart distribution center. She'd come home smelling of cardboard and exhaustion, her hands trembling as she counted tips from her weekend gig cleaning McMansions. Mija, she'd say, pressing dollar bills into my math competition entry fees, la verdad es un superpoder. Truth is a superpower. She died the week Veritas AI went public. A faulty warehouse forklift, the lawyer said. No one's fault. I buried her in her only dress, the blue one with sunflowers, and etched our company motto into her headstone, Lux in Tenebris, light in darkness. I wish she'd met James Holloway. She'd have thrown her chancla at his smug Patagonia-clad face. Holloway was old Silicon Valley, the kind of guy who named his yachts things like Disruption and hosted TED Talks titled Why Privacy is Dead and Why That's Good. His company, Holloway Analytics, turned depression app data into targeted ad campaigns for diet pills. We're not monsters, he told Forbes once. We're realists. We first collided at a tech summit in Dubai. I just demoed Veritas's privacy filters, tools that let users delete their data trails permanently. Holloway cornered me at the raw bar, lobster juice dripping down his fingers. Cute tech, he sneered, but you can't monetize ethics. Watch me, I said. He laughed. I'd spend the next 5 years making sure he choked on that laugh. Then there was Adrian Cole. Good Adrian. If James was a Bond villain, Adrian was the razor blade lollipop, sweet until he cut you. A freelance journalist with a Pulitzer finalist badge and a nicotine gum habit, he wrote exposés on crypto scams and police surveillance. I found his work relentless, borderline obsessive. When he DM'd me after my TED Talk, your AI could save my sources' lives. Coffee? I deleted it. So he showed up at Veritas HQ flirting with my security team until they caved. Miss Marquez, he said, barging into my office with a grin. You're the only CEO who runs ad blockers on her own website. Who hurt you? I should have thrown him out. Instead, I let him stay. He wrote a piece on Veritas that week. Not about me. About the janitors in our office building, their union fight for healthcare. You said ethics start at home? He shrugged when I confronted him. Provecho, we became something. He'd bring me tamales from his abuela's recipe, still warm in a grease-stained paper bag. I'd rant about patent trolls. He'd rant about media conglomerates. We made a game of hacking each other's devices. He'd leave fake dating app notifications on my phone. I'd program his smart fridge to blast mariachi at 3 a.m. Once, after a whiskey-fueled coding session, he traced a finger along the scar on my wrist, bike crash, age 12, and murmured, "You're the only system I can't debug." I should have seen the back door. But I was too busy falling in love with the idea of him, the reformed watchdog, the cynic who still believed in truth, even when he started asking about Veritas's security protocols. For the article, he'd say, "Readers want to know their data's safe." Fool. The bomb dropped on a Thursday. I was in Oslo speaking at the UN's AI Ethics Forum when my COO Ria Patel video called, her face grey. "Elena, check the news." There it was. Veritas AI caught selling refugee data to Belarusian spy firm. Screenshots of server logs, invoices, even a blurry video of me shaking hands with a man in a trench coat. Deepfakes, I'd learn later. Twitter exploded. #delete Veritas trended by sunrise. I stormed into Adrian's loft that night, his location still shared with me from our weekend trip to Big Sur. He was packing a suitcase with cashmere sweaters and a vintage typewriter. "You bastard," I hissed. He didn't flinch. It's business. Turns out, Holloway had offered him $2.5 million plus a Sentinel column to bury me. Adrian's sister had leukemia. His insurance had lapsed. You'd have done the same, he said. No, I spat. I'd have asked for help. I didn't slap him, I didn't cry. I rewired his smart home system to blast our song, Hotel California, on loop and left. Revenge is a dish best served petty. The real work happened in Veritas's server farm. Ria and I chugging Red Bulls at 4 in the morning, tracing Adrian's digital footprints. He'd exploited my biometric login during a romantic surprise server upgrade. Used a mimicry tool to clone our systems, fabricating data trails. But he'd missed the air-gap backups I'd hidden after the 2017 election hacks. Logs proving his sabotage. I leaked it all on live TV. But let's be clear, this wasn't a redemption arc. The public forgave me, the investors didn't. Veritas bled out in weeks. Holloway swooped in, buying our patents for pennies. At the bankruptcy meeting, he smirked. Light in darkness, huh? Should have picked a brighter flashlight. I sold everything. My penthouse, my Rivian, even Mom's sunflower dress, regret number 472. Paid severance to every employee. Ria refused hers. Keep it, she said, scrawling "Eat the Rich" on my office window in lipstick. We'll need it for the revolution. The Marquez initiative started in a Reno tech incubator, next to a vape shop and a psychic. No board, no IPOs. Just me, Ria, and a ragtag team of hacktivists. We built tools no one could monetize. GhostNet, a VPN that routes through abandoned Soviet satellites. Metavault encrypted health records for refugees, deletable with a voice print. TruthLock, a plugin that forces politicians' campaign ads to cite sources. Holloway sued. We countersued with evidence he'd installed spyware in 12,000 school laptops. He resigned. His replacement pivoted to blockchain. Adrian. He slid back into my DMs last year. I'm sorry. I'm clean now. Let me explain. I sent him a Medivault link. Your sister's hospital is selling patient data. He wrote back, still a saint, huh? Still a journalist? I replied. He didn't answer. People ask if I miss the old life, the IPO chance, the private jets. But here's the secret, empires are exhausting. You spend so much time defending walls, you forget to look beyond them. Last month, a Somali refugee girl emailed me. She'd used GhostNet to expose a warlord's trafficking ring. You're my hero, she wrote. I showed it to Ria. She snorted. Hero, please. You're just a pissed-off Latina with a VPN. She's right. But Mom, she'd be proud. So that's my story. No dragons, no princes, just firewalls and the ghosts who try to breach them. The truth didn't save me. It just made me dangerous.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. You know the drill. We take source material, break it down, and pull out the key insights for you. And tonight, we're tackling a really gripping first-person account. It's called How I Exposed My Lover's Betrayal and Built a Tech Revolution, The CEO's Double Life, written by Elena Marquez herself.
Yeah, that title alone tells you this isn't your standard Silicon Valley success story. There's clearly a lot going on personally and professionally.
Exactly. So the source is Elena's own narrative. It covers her first company, Veritas AI, how it all came crashing down after this, well, massive personal betrayal.
Right.
And then how she built something new, the Marquez Initiative, from the wreckage.
So our task today really is to get to the heart of her experience. We need to look at the ethical fights in the tech world she faced, that very personal betrayal, obviously, and how that sort of propelled her towards this completely different, maybe more purpose-driven path. It's that intersection, isn't it? Technology, ethics, personal strength.
Couldn't have said it better. Okay, let's dive in. Starting with Elena's background, what set her on this path initially? She talks about growing up in Nogales, Arizona. Her mother, Rosa, sounds like a huge influence.
Definitely. That phrase her mother used, truth is a superpower. You can see how that would stick with someone.
It really seems to have been her compass.
Yeah. And it ties directly into her first company, Veritas AI. The motto, Lux in Tenebris.
Light in darkness.
Yeah.
Latin. She even put it on her mother's headstone. It shows how deep that connection was between her personal values and what she wanted the company to be.
And that vision initially was all about privacy, right? Veritas AI started by building tools, privacy filters designed to let people basically erase their digital tracks permanently.
Which, in today's world with data breaches and tracking everywhere, that sounds pretty revolutionary and, frankly, ethical.
It does, a principled start. But it also immediately sets up this tension. The listener might recognize this push-pull between wanting tech to do good things and needing to protect ourselves.
And then enter James Holloway. He sounds like, well, the polar opposite.
Right. Elena paints him as this sort of old guard tech bro, yacht named Disruption, gives TED Talks saying privacy is dead. He runs Holloway Analytics.
And their business model. Taking data from, like, depression apps and using it to target ads for diet pills. It's stark.
It really highlights that fundamental conflict we see so often. Ethics versus the bottom line. Holloway's quote is just so blunt. You can't monetize ethics.
Oh, just lays it out there.
Yeah, it's the perspective that ethics are just, a roadblock to profit. Something for our listeners to really think about when they engage with tech platforms.
And Elena's reported response was just, watch me.
It sets the stage perfectly, doesn't it? This ideological clash. And she apparently spent the next 5 years trying to prove him wrong.
Which makes what Holloway does later. It just twists the knife.
Exactly. When Veritas AI collapses, he snaps up the patents. And that comment he supposedly made at the bankruptcy meeting.
Should have picked a brighter flashlight.
Oof, it's just dripping with contempt. A direct hit at her core mission, her mother's memory, everything. Shows how brutal that world can be.
It really does.
Yeah.
But wait, the story with Holloway doesn't quite end there, does it? He comes back later.
He does. Years later, after Elena's launched the Marquez initiative, he files this lawsuit against her.
Which backfires, right?
Massively. Her countersuit reveals Holloway Analytics had been putting spyware on school laptops.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Huge scandal. He ends up resigning. It shows Elena, even after everything, she's still fighting these battles, still committed to uncovering shady practices. That resilience is something else.
Okay, so Holloway is one major figure. But the other key person, the one central to the betrayal, is Adrian Cole.
Adrian Cole, the journalist. Elena's description is telling. He starts off looking like the good guy.
Right. An ethical journalist, writing exposés on crypto scams, police surveillance. Seems like he's on the right side. He contacts her after a TED Talk.
And he builds trust in a really smart way. He writes a piece about Veritas AI, but focuses on the janitors fighting for healthcare.
Yeah, that's clever. It positions him as someone who cares about the little guy, aligns with her values.
And she mentions him saying provecho when she asks about it, like sharing this cultural nod, building rapport. It's a reminder, isn't it, that first impressions, well, they aren't always the whole story.
No kidding. And then it becomes personal. She talks about tamales from his grandmother, staying up late talking, hacking games.
You can see how she'd fall for him. Or, as she puts it, the idea of him, the watchdog.
Yeah, which makes the betrayal just gut-wrenching.
Especially because he was using that closeness, asking about Veritas security under the guise of research while they were involved.
Classic manipulation. Using trust against someone.
It's a hard lesson about vulnerability, personally and professionally, for anyone listening, really.
The moment she finds out, she's in Oslo, right, at a UN ethics forum, ironically.
Yeah, and the headline hits. Veritas AI caught selling refugee data to Belarusian spy firm. Just like that, her company's ethical reputation is destroyed.
And how he did it.
Yeah.
It's chillingly technical.
It is. Exploiting her biometric login, fingerprint, face scan, that kind of thing, during what she thought was a romantic server upgrade session.
Wow.
And using a mimicry tool. Basically, software to fake her digital activity, make it look like she sold the data. It's betrayal on so many levels. Makes you think about your own digital security, doesn't it?
Definitely. Then the confrontation. Him packing, saying it's business.
And revealing Holloway paid him $2.5 million in a column at the Sentinel.
And his excuse. His sister's illness, lapsed insurance.
It's that tough ethical question, isn't it? How far does desperation push someone? Does it justify that?
Elena's simple answer says it all. I'd have asked for help.
Right. Shows her own moral code. It's a complex situation for listeners to ponder. Where's that line between hardship and integrity?
And her immediate reaction wasn't like screaming rage. It was reprogramming his smart home.
To play Hotel California endlessly. Yes, it's such a specific, darkly funny Elena response. A flash of her personality even then.
But The real counterattack comes later, using her tech skills.
Absolutely. Working with Rhea, her loyal colleague, digging through those air-gapped backups kept totally offline, safe from remote access.
Smart.
Very smart. They meticulously trace his digital trail, find the proof he sabotaged everything. It showcases her foresight and technical chops. A good reminder about keeping secure records.
And then she leaks it on live TV.
A huge gamble. And she admits it didn't save Veritas.
No, the investors still pulled out. Company went bankrupt. Holloway got the patents. It's just loss after loss.
It looks like total defeat. But even then, there are these moments of resilience. Elena selling everything she owns to pay her employees severance.
That's incredible.
And Rhea sticking by her, leaving that eat the rich message in lipstick. It's defiant. It shows that even when everything falls apart, values and loyalty can still be there, can be a foundation to rebuild. That's a powerful lesson.
And that rebuilding leads to the Marquez initiative.
Yeah.
Starting small, right? In a Reno tech incubator.
Yeah, between a vape shop and a psychic. A far cry from Silicon Valley glamour. And the whole philosophy is different.
How so?
It's about building tools that can't be easily monetized or weaponized. A direct reaction to what happened with Veritas and Holloway.
So she's moving away from that whole IPO unicorn startup dream.
Completely. It seems like a fundamental shift in how she defines success. Not profit margins, but actual usefulness, ethical soundness, regardless of market potential. Offers a different perspective on success, really.
And the projects reflect that. GhostNet, a VPN using old Soviet satellites.
Wildly creative, right, and incredibly secure, routing traffic through abandoned tech. Then there's MetaVault.
Encrypted health records for refugees.
That can be deleted with a voice print, directly addressing a real need, putting privacy first, and TruthLock.
A plugin forcing political ads to cite sources. Tackling misinformation head-on.
These aren't projects designed for massive profits. They're designed to solve specific, often difficult problems ethically, like that story about the Somali refugee girl using GhostNet.
Right, exposing a warlord's trafficking ring.
It just shows the tangible impact, maybe small scale compared to a global tech giant, but incredibly significant. Shows how even smaller initiatives can make a real difference.
It really brings it all back, doesn't it? Years after the betrayal, her work is actually delivering on that light and darkness promise in a way Veritas, maybe caught up in growth, couldn't.
And Adrian, he tries to get back in touch later.
Yeah, sends DMs, trying to reconcile. Seems that way.
And her response is just, perfect, Elena.
She sends him a MetaVault link.
Showing that his sister's hospital was selling patient data, using her new tech to expose the same kind of unethical behavior he participated in. Ties it all together.
That final exchange she recounts. Him saying, still a saint, huh? And her reply, still a journalist.
And he doesn't answer. Says it all, really. The weight of his actions.
So thinking about the whole story, what are the big themes, the takeaways for someone listening?
Well, first, it's definitely about the challenge of being ethical in tech when profit is king. That pressure to monetize can just overshadow everything else.
For sure. And trust and betrayal. Obviously huge themes, not just personally with Adrian, but industry-wide with beta privacy promises. It's a cautionary tale about who and what you trust.
But maybe the biggest thing is resilience. Reinvention. Elena didn't let the collapse define her. She used it.
Yeah, she channeled it into something new, something maybe more aligned with her original values. Her idea of success clearly changed. It wasn't about the IPO anymore.
It became about tangible help, real impact, and that power of truth. Her mother's idea. It didn't save Veritas in the end, not in a business sense.
No.
But it fueled her fight, her exposure of wrongdoing, and the foundation of the initiative.
Which brings us to her final thought in the piece. Empires are exhausting. You spend so much time defending walls, you forget to look beyond them.
That's quite a reflection, isn't it? About ambition, about maybe getting trapped by your own success or defenses.
It really makes you think. And for you, listening, Elena's whole roller coaster journey, it's pretty thought-provoking. That final line about empires, about looking beyond the walls, maybe it connects to how we all pursue knowledge. Do we sometimes get stuck defending what we think we know and miss the bigger picture?
It raises a really important question for all of us, I think. In this tech-driven world, how do we as individuals, as companies, actually prioritize ethics when the economic pull is so strong? What does success really look like then?
Right. Is it just about the money, the market share, or is it something more?
Elena's story kind of suggests that even something as damaging as betrayal can be a catalyst, a spark for real, meaningful change. If you hold on to that commitment to truth and dare to look beyond those walls, makes you wonder what walls we need to look beyond.